Joining us now is Palm Beach Post investigations editor Holly Balston. Holly, you've been covering this for decades now, it seems. And Holly, you've followed this. What do you make of this hours-long meeting between Ghislaine Maxwell, her attorney, and of course, Deputy AG Todd Blanche?
Well, a couple of thoughts. One is if Maxwell probably had the chance to name names before she was convicted. So why didn't that happen? That might have been a great chance at immunity. But on the other hand, one of the ways they might be able to corroborate anything that she says is there were 4 women named in Epstein's non-prosecution agreement as co-conspirators, and they were given immunity in 2008. They are still out there, and they absolutely would have knowledge. They did the scheduling of these girls, and they would have seen if there were big names participating in Epstein's crimes.
I want to play for you for a second what Maxwell's attorney had to say after those discussions with the DOJ.
Ghislaine answered every single question asked of her over the last day and a half. She answered those questions honestly, truthfully, to the best of her ability. She never invoked a privilege. She never refused to answer a question. They asked about every possible thing you could imagine, everything.
So you heard there, her attorney says that Maxwell answered every single question, no holds barred. So now we're also learning that she was granted that partial immunity. What does that say to you about what Blanche could be hoping to get out of her?
Well, what it says to me, first of all, is that she has nothing to lose. I don't think there's any reason for her not to answer the questions and not take the fifth like Epstein did during many depositions. Also, she could be telling him a lot. The question is, as we all know, is it true?
Is it true? And are we ever going to know what it was? Maxwell's attorney seemed to be laying the groundwork for her to receive some sort of deal, painting her as the victim in all of this. But here's one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers on Thursday with my colleague Jen Psaki reacting to that meeting.
I've never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life, and neither had Virginia Giuffre, and neither has Annie or Anushka or many girls like Shantae Davies. There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon by Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a very dangerous person. The woman is not a victim, she's a victimizer.
So the bar is really high here for the DOJ to reduce Maxwell's sentence or offer her a deal, but the president could actually step in and issue his own commutation or a pardon. What do you think that would mean for the survivors if Maxwell was let off the hook?
Oh, gosh, they have not been believed for so long. And, from the very first grand jury in which 2 of the survivors were called prostitutes by the prosecutor. Those are the transcripts that we got last year. They filed a victims' rights suit and even had a federal judge say their victims' rights had been violated, and then Epstein died. And that was rendered moot. I mean, Ghislaine is the only shred of justice that they've ever had. And so I would think that would be devastating if she even got her sentence reduced.
In your most recent reporting, you detailed the flight log and those who flew on Epstein's private jet. We've heard a lot about this, including, you say, President Trump, who was on board 8 times between 1993 to 1997. There's also, of course, this well-documented friendship between Trump and Epstein. It's no secret that the two were friends, and then there was some kind of falling out. There's no evidence of wrongdoing on Trump's part, but it can't come as a surprise to the administration that Trump might be mentioned in these files.
Possibly, I do believe that when he said in 2019 that he hadn't been in touch with him or close to him in 15 years, that's the right timing for when they were in the bidding war on the mansion in Palm Beach. And Epstein lost that one, but that makes perfect sense to me. In a lot of these investigations, well, it was 94 to 2004 was the Ghislaine Maxwell investigation, but Trump was friends with him in the early to mid 90s. They lived within a couple miles of each other in Palm Beach. So I don't find it totally surprising that Trump has been in the files I've seen so far. But again, nothing incriminating at all.
Yeah, and very interestingly, in a separate article, you remind all of us that Pam Bondi was the one who was Florida's attorney general at the same time Epstein was charged by federal prosecutors in New York after already serving his time for state charges years prior to that. Could Bondi have done more here to prosecute him in the years between the state conviction and his federal arrest?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because, but the thing I found is not enough people thought that deal in 2008 was outrageous. Honestly, it wasn't until the Miami Herald came out with their series, which was a lot of, stuff that was reported all along, but not put into one kind of stunning package that shows the big picture here. Bondi was state AG at a time when, Epstein was still milling about in big society. People were not shunning him in any way, even though he was on sex registries, sex offender registries, I should say. So, my point of would she have felt compelled to do so when she thought that the case was adjudicated? He served his term. It wasn't until somebody figured that out that it was outrageous.
Holly Baltz, we appreciate your insight. Thank you.